All right, guys, welcome back to another Big Buck Blueprint podcast here at Buckmasters. We got a good guest here from Christian Howells. Believe I said that right?
Yes, sir, you did.
Good. He's from Roanoke, Virginia. We've got a big deer story coming to you. So, really cool story. I can't wait to really get into the guts of this. But basically, long journey driving, a lot of hours, a lot of time, a lot of money, a lot of effort put into this, so you don't want to miss it. But I got Christian and then also his friend Quig. Also, he goes by Quig Pig. But he's in too. He's got a little bit he might share with us too. But just to kind of jump straight into it, Christian, obviously I know your name, but you're from Roanoke, Virginia. Tell us a little
Yes,
bit
sir.
about yourself.
Yes, sir. I'm from Roanoke, Virginia, born and raised here. I've always enjoyed the outdoors. I've been hunting since I was 5 years old, and now just love the outdoors and try to get out as much as I can.
Right. Well, good deal, dude.
Yes, sir.
Well, how old were you when you killed your first deer?
I was 9 years old when I killed my first doe. Yes, sir.
9 years old. That's pretty sweet.
It was a great experience, and I just love the outdoors.
Yeah, everything, turkey, deer, squirrel, rabbit eating, everything.
Yes, sir. I
Heck
love
yeah.
turkey hunting, especially waterfowl hunting, ducks and geese, going out on the lake and shooting them birds for sure.
Good deal. What you do for a living?
So I own a power washing business. So I do residential homes and commercial buildings. So exterior homes, decks, sidewalks, patios. Try to cover all of it for sure.
Sweet.
So I get some downtime off in the hunting season, which is nice. So it allows me to do a lot of hunting and fishing for sure.
All right. Well, that's pretty cool, man. Well, let's go ahead and just dive straight into this. I mean, that's what everybody's here for. Let's just get into it. So, Roanoke, Virginia, where you live, I'm just going to go ahead and break it to everybody here. He drove all the way to Tennessee to kill an absolute giant. So, why? Just let's go into that. That's my biggest question is why. I know Virginia's got some good deer. Why drive to Tennessee? Let's roll into the whole story of it. But really intrigued with this story and can't wait to hear.
Yes, sir. So I've always wanted to kill a velvet buck. That's always been on my hit list to do. And I started doing some research and saw the season runs from the 23rd to the 25th in Tennessee. So I drove down in July, the beginning of July, went down there on a Friday and spent the night at my buddy's house or cabin that he let me stay at. And I just started door knocking. I probably knocked on 40 doors, and I was getting told, no, absolutely not. We don't allow hunting. It was just a constant battle of getting told no, but I'm used to handling no's. So,
Christian, can I break in just for a second? So I'm a preacher, and I think it's the same experience as a Jehovah's Witness or Fuller Brush salesman. And the difference between Christian and me is I'm too embarrassed to go knock on. I bet he knocks on 100 doors a year, easy.
Wow.
And I just hate that kind of rejection.
Yeah.
But Christian doesn't care. He just goes and if 10 say no, he'll knock on 10 more.
Yeah. Hey, you got to stick with it. What area you say in Tennessee? Or I know you might not want to share exactly, but what region?
it's in Knox County.
Okay, sweet.
So I ended up getting on Onyx and just doing a lot of scouting on there and just trying to find a pocket of woods that would hold a mature buck in there that nobody else was hunting. And after I went to the surrounding areas knocking on doors, I was getting told no left and right. I finally struck upon this one guy, and he was like, before I could even get all my what I wanted to say out, he just said yes. And I was like, dude, I'm freaking, this is it. This is what I needed. But it was probably 8 to 9 hours of knocking on doors, constant.
Golly, dude, that's intense.
It was a long time until I got that yes. But I was super excited I got that yes. But yeah.
So you must not have, you're not married, I know you told me that, but you must not have an old lady back home bugging you saying, come on, we got to get on back home. You must be a pretty free spirit, huh?
Yes, sir. So I can
Yeah.
pretty much do what I want, which is nice.
I knew the answer to that when I asked it. It has to be. Well, good deal, dude. Yeah, no, it takes a lot of work. I mean, you see the guys seek one. I mean, they're all what comes to everybody's mind on the social and YouTube world. I mean, everybody knows those guys. That's what they're doing. They're just out there churning and grinding and getting it. And even I know a lot of people who have done the same tactic around here, around home. And yeah, you can be successful, but it does take a lot of rejections, takes a lot of no's, and you got to persuade them. Look, I'm not gonna. If I fall out the stand, I'm not gonna sue y'all. Like, it's fine. You don't need. And I've even seen people where they've developed waivers, they develop paperwork trying to say that, look, I won't hold you liable or anything. Basically just please let me hunt. So that's pretty sweet that you got permission. So tell us a little bit about this deer and what happened when you got your camera out, and how your strategy going about all that.
Yeah, so also I forgot to add in, when I'm going up and knocking on somebody's door, I try to find a connection with them that either involves a flag outside, a Tennessee flag, or like some kind of football team, or like a sticker on the back. I try to relate with them and try to connect with them better, so they'll feel more comfortable with me versus some random guy, which I am some random guy knocking on somebody's door, but have that connection and try to persuade them a little bit more.
You're like a salesman, like Quigg said. You're like a Jehovah's Witness, a salesman coming to the door knocking. It's exactly what you're like. But yeah, it takes a lot of persuading. But yeah, so how did you go about this? You put a camera out. You said you get a camera out and get some inventory, figure out what's in there, and
yeah. So all my cameras are out. So I ended up asking Quigg. I was like, Quigg, I need a camera or two, and he was like, absolutely, take mine. I said, I'll bring it back in a month, so he let me. Thank you, Quigg, for letting me borrow your camera. But I ended up sticking I stick 2 cameras on the property. It was only 5 acres. It wasn't very big, but it was enough to definitely get the job done. So I went out there and I searched the whole property, looking for the best travel door, pinch point, trails they were using. And then came across 2 good trails that they were using to come and eat white acorns, the white oaks.
Yep.
And there must have been 7 or 8 trees that were dropping crazy, and I could see them in there tearing it up. So I was like, this is the place I want. And I never knew the buck was in there, but after knocking on so many doors, I figured nobody else hunts in here. There's got to be a booner in here somewhere, If not now, later in the season for sure when the rut hits. So I stuck the cameras up, and I felt real good about it, and got back in the truck and then drove 4 hours back up north to my hometown. And later that evening, probably I think it was around 9 o'clock, I got a picture notification, and I looked at it and I was like, wow, that's a big buck right there.
yeah.
I was like, I would love to get the opportunity to harvest this thing.
And what point of the season? That was earlier in the season, right? So I mean, he probably wasn't all out there right yet.
It wasn't even in season. It was in July.
Well, yeah, that's what. Before the season of growing, though, I guess he still had a lot more growing left to do. Is what I'm saying.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I think the most they grow is in August.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw him, and he was beautiful buck, and that had my adrenaline pumping for sure. So the next several weeks, I kept getting him on camera consistently, either in the morning, in the evening. He was mostly showing up in the evening time. And then probably 2 weeks, my reveal camera just ended up dying. I don't think I had enough juice in that. I didn't put good batteries in there, and ended up dying halfway through. So I was pretty disappointed after that. I was like, dude, I don't even know if I'm gonna get the opportunity. I can't pattern this deer anymore. But I found within those 2 weeks, I found what area he was coming from, and I kept going back on Onyx and scouting that property just over and over. I'm like, why is he coming into this area? Obviously the white oaks, and there was a pond right down the road from there that he was definitely hitting for sure.
Man, and you said 5 acres he's on, is what you said, is about 5 acres you're hunting?
Yes, sir. About 5 acres.
How many? What's the around it? Was it ag? Was it like a community? Was it like city? Was it?
So there was a community above it, and there were some horse farms to the right hand side. And I knew most horse farmers, as I don't know if you guys know, but they say absolutely no hunting, just because they're livestock, they're
Yeah,
animals,
liability there.
liability. And then there was a main road down below it, so I knew that there was nobody else in there but me at that point.
So I know the story. I read a little bit of the caption that you put whenever you posted it, but I know the heartbreaking moment whenever. I know you're about to talk about it, but when was that? Whenever the owner called you and told you couldn't hunt
Yes, sir. So about a week and a half before season, I I just want to catch up with the landowner and tell him what days I'm coming. So I ended up texting him and I was like, hey man, just want to let you know I'll be in there through the 23rd through the 25th. And I didn't hear a text back, which is sometimes usual, somebody just reads it and go on with it. And probably 6 days later, I get a text message and it's not what I wanted to hear. It's, hey man, I'm so sorry to tell you this, to break this news to you. My wife doesn't want you hunting on the property. She just doesn't like. She likes hunting, but she doesn't want you doing it on our property. Or he owned the house, so it was his property.
Gotcha.
And I ended up texting something back. I said, hey man, I definitely understand. I said, I'm from Roanoke, Virginia. I said, is there any way I could come down? I got 2 cameras in there. Is any way, that's a 4 or 5 hour drive for me. I still need to get my cameras out. I said, is there any way I can hunt Friday the 23rd morning? And he says, you got from 6 a.m. to pretty much 12.
Oh my gosh, dude.
So
That is, and that was the most intriguing thing when I saw this whole story. It's a heck of a deer, and obviously we're gonna put it in here in a minute. But like, oh my gosh, that's like gut wrenching. I mean, you're going from a high, so you're so high. I mean, you're like, I got this giant on camera. I've never seen a deer like this before, and then boom, you can't hunt it anymore. That's so disheartening.
Yes, sir. So I mean, I offered him money, and he was like, I don't want any money. He says, as long as you donate the deer to the Hunters for the Hungry, we're fine.
Okay.
So after I got that text message and I coordinated with him, I ended up getting one of my good buddies to go down there with me. So he was able to drop me off because his wife went to work at 8:30. So I had to be in the woods before 8:30, and I had to be out of the woods by at least 3:30 or at least 3. So I knew I had a window to make it happen. So the next couple weeks after that, I was looking on Onyx and trying to figure out where, because I didn't hang the stand when I was there because I didn't know he was in there. So a week before season, it was probably like 5 days before season, I drove down to Tennessee with my buddy, and I was shooting my bow constantly, getting it dialed in. 20 yards, it was 10 yards, it was good. 20 yards, it was good. 30 yards, and I was like, I'm not shooting them past 30 yards. Like, I'm comfortable with 30 yards. That's it. I'm good. Especially with all the leaves on the tree, you really can't shoot past 30 yards, 40 yards some shots, unless you cut shooting lanes. So I ended up we're down at the cabin getting ready, and I went over there, and I hunt out of a saddle stand because it's mobile, it's easy. I like to hunt out of a saddle because you can have the tree between you and the deer constantly.
For sure.
Christian, for us old guys, tell them what a saddle stand is. I couldn't get in one, but tell them what it is.
A saddle is 3 steps, or you can have as many steps as you want, but the higher you go when you're shooting straight directly down, it's more of a tough shot to make a kill shot on it, for sure, especially if they're right underneath you. But hung 3 steps above them or above on the tree, and then it's a little platform, and you stand on the platform, and you got your I don't even know what it's called.
Is it a rope or a tether or something?
It pretty much just clips into your saddle, what it is.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, that
So
saddle hunting it's come a long way. It's crazy to see. I don't know what, probably 6, maybe even 10 years ago, is when it started coming out. I remember ATA first saw it out there, and I was like, what is this stuff? And, I was very skeptical of it. But then everybody's doing it now. And I'll be honest, I've never personally tried it. I've heard a lot of people have success, especially in these type situations. They want to get in. They don't want to hang a set, big, honky, clinky metal, lock on and go in and hang it and do. They'd rather ease in, climb up, got your tree saddle, you're there. You're more in tune with what you're at. Like you said, you can put the tree in between you and the deer, which is very helpful. You can, everything. You can move your set. If you've got a wonky tree, if it's bent, you can get up in it. I know we've got friends out in Nebraska. He loves them because all he has is little old bitty spindly cedar trees, and he has nothing to climb, so he has to use them. So, but yeah, that's pretty sweet.
So I ended up hanging the saddle stand up in there. Got the sticks. I used 3 sticks and then a platform. Hung everything up. Bow hanger. But I used the wrong bow hanger. I went to Tractor Supply and got this one that curved up. So when I hung my bow on it, I'll get to it later in the story, I couldn't get it off.
Oh God.
Which was very frustrating. So I went there, cut all the shooting lanes that I thought he would be in. And I didn't realize I only had one tree I could really hang it in that was 30 yards and closer. And I didn't realize how far I hung it off the main trail that he takes. I just wasn't paying attention. So got my shooting lanes cleared, and then I left the area. But I use the ozonics, and I tell you what, man, that's a game changer right there. I mean, I swear by it. I love it. It ain't anything like it.
Yeah.
So I got out of the woods, and that was on Wednesday. Put the new batteries in the camera, and I was hoping he would show back up. With me being in there and cutting all the shooting lanes, and I tried not to spread around my scent too much. So got back to the cabin, and later that evening he showed up on camp, and I said, all right, now game's on, I'm coming for you.
Oh yeah.
But I kept looking at my wind, and my wind was just throwing right up into his bedding area, and I was like, this ain't good. Like, I never hunt a bad wind. I will never. But like, I didn't have an option. I had one day to do it, and this is what I'm working with. And I felt like I had a 10% chance I would harvest this buck. So,
gosh, that's intense, dude. Ozonics is crazy. It is. I will speak for that. I've again, a lot of good positive things about it. So you went ahead. Friday season open. Saturday, the archery season open.
Friday morning it opened.
Got it.
So it's Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
Got it. Okay.
And then Thursday rolled around, and I just kept looking I was hoping the wind would change, and it just wasn't changing. 4 or 5 miles an hour, it was blowing straight to his bedding. And Thursday rolled around, no pictures of them. I was getting other pictures of bucks, and I was like, I don't want any of those other bucks. I want that one buck. Friday rolled around. Thursday night, I was just ozoning my clothes left and right. I would put it on for 90 minutes, come back 90 minutes later, and I must have ozoned my clothes probably 8 times that day, because I was like, I do not want to get caught by this deer. And my buddy was like, man, I told him, I was like, man, you should get up in the tree with me and videotape. He was like, Christian, I don't even have any hunting clothes. He said, you're going to be so mad at me if you missed this opportunity on this buck. I said, all right, that's fine. I'll go in there by myself. So Friday morning came along, woke up, did my prayer with the Lord, if it's meant to be, it's meant to be, So I got in there around 5:30, 5:20. My buddy dropped me off at the hunting spot, and then he just drove down to the gas station, sat down there and waited. And I started walking in the woods, and I could not find my saddle to save my life. I mean, there was nowhere. Like, I had it on Onyx. I dropped a pin on it.
Oh my gosh, you couldn't find it in the woods. Oh my God.
So sometimes Onyx, like, you're somewhere and then it moves your location later on. So I looked at it real quick and put my phone away because it messes with your vision. I'm not trying to use a flashlight or scare this buck out because I know he's close. So I ended up walking on the main trail for about 10 yards and then found my tree stand, and I was like, all right, sweet. So I hopped up in it, put my bow up, and it started to daybreak. And I was hoping I would see more action, you know. It was probably about 64 degrees. I was hoping to see some deer movement. Nothing. So about 6:20 in the morning, starting to break daylight. Wasn't seeing any deer, but I heard some squirrels coming down from the trees and eating some white oaks. And later on that morning, there was nothing showing up, and I was like, it's my win for sure. Like, they definitely smell me. They don't want to be in here. So it had me discouraged for some time. About 8 o'clock rolled around, started seeing some turkeys come by and just scratch into the leaves, and I was watching them for a while, hanging out. And I watched some buck videos on YouTube, just trying to figure out how can I get this buck in here. I thought about doing the rattle, but you know, it's too early in the season to do that. It honestly sounded like two foam footballs hitting each other because with the velvet, honestly.
Yeah. Yep.
So came across this video of this guy talking about do 3 grunts real soft and one after the other. And I was like, you know what? It's about 8:15, 8:20. I need to do something. Something needs to show up. It's starting to get hot. I don't know if they're gonna move or not move. So I do this buck grunt with my mouth, and it sounds like.
Dude, you just did that with your mouth. You did it with your mouth and called him up.
Christian.
Yeah. So,
Dude, listen to this again. Listen to him. Get him close, buddy.
Dude, that is insane. So
I've been doing that for years, and I've killed so many bucks doing that. Just grunting them in, and they come running in because they think there's another buck in the area. But that's how they communicate a lot. For 12 months, they communicate doing that. I did not know that. I thought it was more of a rut thing to do, but they use those calls to communicate. So I let off 3 grunts, one after the other, and I was sitting in my saddle like I shouldn't have been sitting in my saddle. I was messing around, kind of. I had my foot up on the tree, bow hung up. So I'm not kidding you, within a minute and a half, 2 minutes, here he comes. I hear a stick crack, so I look to my right, and he's coming down from his bedding area and walked on the main trail. I immediately take out, because I didn't feel like nobody was going to believe me, so I took out my phone and I started recording him, and he was at 15 yards.
Oh
dead,
my
15 yards to my right. So I started videotaping him, and he sat there and he knew something wasn't right. Like, I know he smelled me. Something just was off.
I got a question, Christian. If I had a deer at 15 yards with a bow, especially that one, I'd have hammered him.
Yeah, I'd have been slinging some
Why-
arrows.
Why did you not hammer him at 15 yards?
Well, he was facing me, kind of, and I just couldn't make the shot, and there was too many branches in the way. So I thought I had some time to videotape him for a little bit before I had the opportunity, if I did have the opportunity, to harvest him. So he sat there, stood on that trail for about a minute or two, and he turned around, was licking his back and was just sniffing the air, kept licking his nose, just trying to move all the scent off his nose and trying to smell what was going on. So I was like, all right, it's time. I need to harvest this deer. So I put my phone in my back pocket or back pouch, and he started walking on the trail right in front of me. So I immediately grabbed my bow off the hanger, what I was telling you about earlier, but with that hook curved up, it wouldn't come off. So every time I tried to take it off, it was making this noise, and he like turned around and was looking, and I was like, this ain't good. So I finally got it off the hanger and clip my D-ring around, and about that time he was at 10 yards in front of me. And I had the tree in, once again, I had the tree. This is a good thing about hunting from the saddle. I had the tree between me and him, so he couldn't see me. And I finally turned around on the side, and he stopped at 8 yards, and he turned around, was licking his back, and I drew my bow back, and he heard the arrow draw back through the whisker biscuit. And he turned around, and about that time he turned around, I already had the 10-yard pin on him, and as soon as it hit, I mean, he kicked them back legs up, and blood started pouring out.
Oh my
and
God.
I was like, there's
Relief.
no way I just
Yeah.
killed this deer.
God,
And
dude.
he took off running up the woods, and I could see him for a second, and then I saw him, or I heard him crash, and I knew he wasn't far. I was like, he's within 20, 25 yards for sure. And I heard him flopping around up there for a little bit, and then nothing. So I kind of leaned down in my saddle and looked up in the woods, and I saw his white belly laying there.
Oh my gosh.
And I took my rangefinder looking through him, and I was like, he's done. That's it. So my pastor, he was a big part in this. So I FaceTimed him, and that was an awesome moment to share with my pastor.
But man, that's awesome. Have your pastor there to be able to help. Have that story tie together. It's unreal. He had the little prayer before, had everything that happened in between. I mean, you can't hunt it. Now you can hunt it for this time. Like, everything about this whole story is just crazy, crazy.
Yes, sir. But as soon as that's one part I did leave out. Every time I get up in the stand, I always pray. Pray for my family, pray for my friends, and then also pray for the bow hunt, or when I'm up in the tree stand for my safety, and make sure I make an ethical shot.
That's sweet,
And
dude. Heck yeah.
I could say it was, with the ozonics I did, but it was a blessing from the Lord for sure.
Yeah, no doubt, dude.
I mean,
no doubt. That came all around for you. That's awesome, man. Quig, you came in for him. Appreciate your help on that. I know he's probably still thanking you.
Yeah, I'm available. You just call 1-800-QUIG.
1-800-QUIG, pig. And, hey, that's going to be a heck of a story. I guess y'all didn't probably talk about it on Sunday service, but here coming up service in church, y'all are probably going to talk about this, huh? I would assume.
We wear robes at our church, even though we're pretty young and hip. But I wear a camo stole
Heck yeah.
that an 85-year-old lady made for me from Franklin County, Virginia, moonshine capital of the world.
That's
Some
great.
people didn't like it. I'm like, hey, God made camo.
Heck yeah, he did. Heck yeah.
Christian wears camo to church all the time.
That's what it's about, man. Heck yeah. So it's not just an Alabama thing. So in Alabama, that's all I do too. I just wear a Carhartt, whatever, some pants, jeans, and sometimes camo, especially if I'm going hunting. So, but anyway, let's get back. So what happened? You got down. You obviously got down. What kind of emotions were you feeling when you went up there? I mean, this is your biggest deer, right?
yes, sir. As soon as I let that arrow fly and everything unfolded, I couldn't believe it. So I got down, lowered my bow down, and I already saw that he was down, but I wanted to see. I used new broadheads this year. It was the Mega Meats G5s,
Mm-hmm.
and I mean, it tore him up. I mean,
Good.
the entrance wound was probably, I could stick my fist in the entrance wound. That's how big it was. The
You can
exit
see it in that
was-
picture. Yeah, it's visible in that picture.
It was massive.
Mhm.
But I started just looking at the blood trail, and I've never had a blood trail like those Mega Meats, and it was phenomenal. I was very, very pleased with that. Walked up to him, and I got to lay my hands on him, and I've never felt velvet before, so that was awesome. And I immediately called my buddy that was helping me, and at that time it was 8:30, so his wife already left for work. So I said, we are golden. We're good. We can leave now.
Yeah, it's a good time to get out now. Let's get him out.
Yes,
Let's
sir,
get.
absolutely. So I ended up calling the landowner, and he was like, dude, I am so happy for you. And I was like, I can't thank you enough. And he's like, I'm waiting for you. I want to see this thing. So my buddy, I'm actually extremely allergic to deer hair. I don't know if it's the dandruff or what it is. I can eat the meat, but there's just something wrong with deer hair. So I can't touch the deer hair. If I do, my eyes break out, they swell up. It's just not a good thing.
Interesting.
So my buddy Danny came down and he helped me drag it and back to the truck and saw the guy, and the guy was like, "That was living back there?" I was like, "Yeah, dude."
Yeah. Oh man, that is so freaking sweet. So how did he end up turning around? Are you going to be able to hunt in the future, or is this it? You're done.
No, that's it. That's it. I mean,
I was hoping that it might be able to touch a soft spot in his heart, to make him. Yeah, you can come on back.
He did tell me. He said, if I can convince my wife to let you hunt in the future, then absolutely. He said, once again, I don't have a problem with it.
Well, you did it. You made it happen. That's all that matters. And so I saw this deer on social. It's the first deer I really saw that was taken for the 24, 25 hunting season. But I saw it and I was like, I got to get this deer scored. I got to do a story on it. I mean, it's just incredible. The way that the beams come off the front, drop down. I've never seen a deer quite like that, Some similar, but not quite like that. It's just like they continue out. I can't wait to see the score sheet to see how long those main beams were. But I do know, I heard the rough score, or the BTR score, not rough, it was an official BTR score. We got in touch with Anders Blix. He's actually in your home state, Virginia. He scores a lot of deer out there. But come to find out, he was in Tennessee on his own hunt with his buddy, Hunter, who is actually another scorer of ours. And they were after this other 170, 180-inch deer. And I was like, hey, Anders, I really need a score on this deer. Can you please? He was like, heck yeah, on my way home Monday morning, I'll get it scored. So I got up with Anders, got y'all connected, you and both of y'all, and ended up he got a score on it Monday morning. And what was it?
It was 178.
178 inches. That is an absolute giant. And again, I'll find some way we can share the score sheet. We might just be able to cut out your information and just have the time links and everything. But those main beams is just unbelievable. Still can't grasp that. That's just incredible. But that is one heck of a deer, dude. I don't know if you'll ever top that.
Yeah, yes, sir. But it's after we ended up gutting it, I had the hardest time trying to find a processor that would take it. I mean, no processors were open until October, the end of September. So I ended up having to drive about an hour north of Knoxville, dropped it off to this guy, and I was like, hey, do you guys know a taxidermist? They're like, no. And I'm like, how do you not know a taxidermist and you're a processor?
Yeah, exactly. That doesn't make sense. And you had to donate it too for the audience. You had to donate it, remind them, because that was part of the deal. You had to donate it for the state.
So the Hunters for the Hungry ended up taking it, donated it, and then I ended up looking at the deer, and he had short hair. I've never seen hair that short on a deer, because I've never hunt in August. It's usually October.
Yeah.
So I ended up they ended up cutting it off right up behind the ears, and I ended up finding this guy. His name is Nathan. He's near Knoxville. I think it's Muddy Creek Taxidermy.
Mm-hmm.
So I ended up taking to him. He was the only one taxidermist that would take it. And I had some other guys reach out to me after the fact. I took it there, but...
Tell them why, Christian.
Why what?
Tell them why the velvet deer is harder to get somebody to work on.
Just people didn't want to mess with the velvet on it.
Yeah, I do hear that, Quig. I mean, a lot of people, they don't want to have to jack with it, especially in that state, because I mean, he's hard, getting harder under the velvet, but he's still got a pretty good while before that velvet comes off, So
he wasn't actually hard yet. He was still, you could still bend his antlers. So I know
crazy.
He had at least probably 2 or 3 more weeks of growing left, and
incredible.
I mean, they weren't pointy on the end. They were still pretty big, rounded. So I think he had some growing left to do.
Right.
But
dude, that is insane, man. One of the best stories I've ever heard, if I'm being honest. I mean, you driving from Virginia all the way down, the time you put in. The biggest part, though, and the best part to me is that you have from 6 to 12 to hunt. And, I mean, all of that just is hands down to you, dude. You made it happen. I appreciate you getting on today. And just again congratulate you for taking him and making it happen, man. I'm excited. I can't wait. We'll plug a lot of pictures in throughout this whole podcast so you guys can see it. But man, you've got to share the mount whenever you're done. That we'll have to do a follow-up post on this because I can't wait to see that. What kind of mount are you doing on him?
So we're just doing a European mount on it.
Oh, dude.
I don't have any more space for another shoulder mount, unfortunately. So
yeah.
Plus, they already cut it off at the head. I'd have to get a new cape for it.
Yeah, that would be sweet, though, man. You can't beat a Euro. You know, you sit there and you can hold it and you can show it, pass it around. You know, it's more meaningful to me, too. I love a Euro.
Yes, sir.
Sweet,
so
dude.
They ended up capping it, and he's going to put it, I believe, on a fake skull, but they're going to freeze dry it. So.
Well, still, whenever you get that, share it with us. We're excited. I want to see that, man.
Yes, sir,
but,
absolutely.
Christian, I got a question. What so I read online that to treat the antlers, what do you call it, in velvet, they have to use formaldehyde.
Yep.
And so a lot of taxidermists don't know how to do it. But what did they tell you about that, and how are they actually going to treat it so it looks like it's in velvet?
So they're going to end up doing the freeze dried on it. So they put it through a freeze drying process.
Yep. That is.
I don't know exactly how that works, but.
Yep. I'm not that in tune with it either. I do know. I'm assuming you just freeze dry it, and it just kind of zaps it and makes it to where it's just that blood and that tissue freezes and hardens. That's ultimately what it is in a nutshell. But, yeah, that's pretty sweet. That's going to be so, so pretty. I can't wait to see it. But, Christian, I greatly, greatly appreciate it. I mean, this is 4 or 5 days after you've killed the deer, and we're already doing a podcast, so we covered it quick. You're going to probably have some more people reach out to you because, dude, this is once-in-a-lifetime deer, especially in Tennessee. There's some good ones that come out of Tennessee, but for that area, dude, that's a great deer, man. Heck of a deer for anywhere.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
But we appreciate it, Quig, Christian. We appreciate it. Appreciate y'all for listening. Hopefully we'll be bringing another big deer to y'all here pretty soon. We'll see y'all next time.
All right. See you, Buckmasters.